the Ferrari F156 Sharknose, the Giulia GTA, and the Tipo 33. What do they all have in common? Well, a lot of things, but the man we're interested in today is Carlo Chiti. Yes, he's the engineer that worked with Bittarini both at Alfa Romeo and Ferrari. Although he's never founded a company after his own name, the sheer amount of race-winning cars produced under his leadership wipes out any doubt about his ingenuity and his place in automotive history. Today, we're diving into the life of Carlo Chiti, the Tuscan engineer who left a cherished racing heritage to not one, but two Italian motorsports legends. Carlo Chiti was born in Pistoia in 1924 and graduated from University of Pisa with an aeronautical degree in 1953. He began his career at Alfa Romeo as an engineer, where he worked at the Special Experiences Department, where he was given free rein to conduct experiments on cars to make them go faster. A racing department, if you will. Some of his early responsibilities included the Disco Volante and the 6C3000CM. But Alfa Romeo at the time, while immensely successful in F1, was shifting their focus into series production of road cars to stay afloat, following the trend of most post-war auto manufacturers. The racing department soon closed down, which gave Chiti a good reason to leave the outfit. When Bittarini left Alfa Romeo for Ferrari, he also attempted to bring Carlo Chiti with him, though the death of Andrea Fraschetti, the then technical manager at Ferrari, ultimately led to a formal offer from Enzo to take on the now vacant position. Here, Chiti displayed his relentless pursuit of innovation. Never the one to be tied to legacies and past glories, he pushed Ferrari to build their first ever racer with the engine behind the driver. The F156 Sharknose. Piloted by Phil Hill in 1961, the Sharknose proved to Enzo Ferrari that new ideas can win championships. While at Ferrari, Chiti brought on yet another Alfa engineer, Lodovico Cizola. This partnership would ultimately prove to be Chiti's greatest asset later down the line. But before Ferrari could witness the blossoming of the two visionaries, Cizola left and Chiti was fired during the Palace Revolt. We've covered the fallout between Enzo Ferrari and his senior engineers in Bittarini's video here, so go check it out. Chiti, alongside the now ex-Ferrari personnel, founded the ATS. It didn't go very well. It was a sinking ship, and Chiti knew it. But as ATS was all but waiting to make its unceremonious exit, an Italian auto giant was looking to get back in the racing game. Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo at the time was led by Giuseppe Luraghi, a poet and a fan of motorsports. And he had a vision for Alfa Romeo. The company's Giulietta was selling well, but the halls of what was once a vibrant racing department were deafeningly silent. And Luraghi was going to change that. Luraghi instructed Orazio Sata, a longtime Alfa engineer, to approach Chiti to see if he was interested in working as a specialist operation of Alfa Romeo. Chiti, still tied to his responsibilities at ATS, however, was unable to convince his sponsors of making the Alfa deal. But with the ATS being on shaky grounds, Chiti knew that he needed new work. So he met with Cizola in 1963 to discuss working on separate racing projects outside of ATS, specifically the deal he was offered from Alfa Romeo. The two agreed to form yet another company, this time headquartered in a building owned by Lodovico Cizola near Udine. The partnership included Cizola's brother, Gianni, who was also an engineer, and the three worked under a temporary name, Autodelta, to design and produce race cars. Apparently, there are many stories around how the name Autodelta came to be, but the authors of the book share the following as the most believable. Gianni Cizola claimed the credit for the name, as the three partners in the venture, Carlo, Lodovico, and Gianni, each lived in Bologna, Udine, and Milan, forming a triangle. The Greek letter D for delta is shaped like a triangle, hence Autodelta. The company was registered in March 1963, and Alfa Romeo's offer of working as a specialist operation for ATS was again offered to Autodelta, this time to build the TZ. This put Chiti in an awkward position, attempting to run both ATS and Autodelta at the same time, though it was fairly clear that his preference was given to Autodelta, one of many reasons for ATS's eventual collapse. Autodelta's business grew rapidly, primarily due to its client base being wholly composed of Alfa Romeo. But the business was still plagued with logistical nightmares. The chassis of the TZ were built in Veneto, sent to Zagato in Milan for bodies, and delivered to Udine for the mechanical components and finishing. But the TZ showed promise, dominating the early FISA races in 1963 and racking up a few class victories. And as Alfa Romeo's confidence in Autodelta grew, Alfa Romeo made formal offers to Chiti and Cizola, the deputy manager and general manager roles in Alfa Romeo, with Autodelta becoming absorbed by Alfa Romeo altogether. This meant that Autodelta would move closer in proximity to Alfa Romeo's headquarters and streamline the logistics. On November 30th, 1964, Autodelta became a stock company owned by Alfa Romeo, which in turn was owned by the Italian government. But now, under Alfa Romeo's direct command, Autodelta's first task of improving the TZ led to the TZ2. The TZ2 came home with first-in-classes throughout the 1965 and 66 season, including Monza, Sebring, Targa Florio, and Nürburgring. The TZs were magnificent, both on track and under the spotlight. But the real breadwinner was the GTA. Essentially a souped-up Giulia, the GTAs developed under Chiti's Autodelta absolutely dominated the touring car racing scene in the late 60s and the early 70s. Between 1966 and 1972, the Giulia GTA underwent a few notable evolutions: the 1300 Junior, the GTA M, and the super rare, supercharged GTA SA. And between them, the GTAs would score a staggering 9 European Touring Car Championship titles. Despite being based on the Giulia Sprint GT, the modifications made were so extensive that the cost of each GTA was twice as much as the standard GT. And in parallel to the GTA was Alfa Romeo's most prized project, the one that would replace the TZ and put Alfa Romeo at the forefront of sports car racing: the Type 33. 1966 saw the introduction of the Constructors' Trophy for the prototype formula, known as the Group 6. Alfa Romeo was going to compete in it with the Type 33. The development of the Type 33 preceded Chiti, with Busso and Sata, Alfa Romeo's longtime engineer and designer, working on a sports prototype vehicle under the codename 105.33 to compete at the upcoming Sports Prototype Championship. And when Chiti came around, the project plans were thrown onto his desk, who was tasked with making it real. Chiti developed a 2-liter V8 to go on the chassis, with his experience developing engines at ATS serving him well. The 2-liter monoblock engine produced 270 brake horsepower at 9,600 RPM. And after numerous testing, the car was revealed to the awestruck press at Balocco on March 6, 1967. Its low-slung, fluid bodywork was built around large-diameter aluminum tubes, which also acted as fuel tanks, manufactured by an aircraft company. It sported a 6-speed gearbox, independent suspension with ventilated brakes, but by far the most impressive feature was its air duct, its shape resembling a periscope, giving the Type 33 its iconic nickname, the Tipo 33 Periscopica. While striking in visuals, the early iterations had severe handling issues. It had won an obscure hill climb event in Belgium driven by Teodoro Zeccoli, but this first iteration of the Type 33 failed to live up to the excitement when it first debuted. But at least we got this, the road-going version of the T33, the Stradale. Designed by Franco Scaglione, the car became an instant icon that remains one to this day. It oozed so much cool that other renowned Italian designers had to have their go at it. Bertone's 33 Carabo, Giugiaro's Iguana, and Pininfarina's P33 Roadster, the Spider Cuneo, and Coupe Speciale were all based on the Type 33 chassis. But back to racing. The Type 33 went through numerous iterations, the first one being the 33/2. It saw moderate success, but across the season, the car was still consistently outperformed by its German rival. For the following seasons, the displacement was increased to 3 liters. The 33/3 finally awarded Alfa Romeo with outright victories throughout the 1971 season. First for Alfa Romeo in 20 years. But it was 1973 when the 33 saw its final and ultimate form, the T33 TT12. This Chiti-designed 3-liter flat 12 engine developed 500 brake horsepower. The 1973 and 1974 seasons were more of a development period for the T33 TT12, and after years of effort, in 1975, Autodelta finally delivered. The car won 7 out of 9 championship races, clinching the World Championship for makes. Autodelta did later adapt their 33 TT12 into the 33 SC12 with a boxed chassis for the 1976 and 1977 season. But at this time, the championship was split into 2 and the interest in the championships had waned. The 1977 season, where the T33 SC12 dominated, saw the absence of major rivals like Porsche and Alpine. Still, the successes of the Type 33 cemented Alfa Romeo as a motorsports giant. And much of the success was attributed to the superhuman concentration Chiti displayed in the pits and at the factory. He oversaw every little detail of the factory's operation, reminiscent of the domineering character of Enzo Ferrari. But unlike Ferrari, Chiti harbored a gregarious and sociable trait. Andrea de Adamic, one of Autodelta's drivers, once compared Chiti to Ferrari. Ferrari was more professional, but not so relaxing. No human relations. Enzo never spoke with his mechanics. But Chiti was a fantastic human being. Autodelta was his family, and he lived in the workshop. Chiti forged such close and personal relationships with his drivers that they often referred to him as Uncle. And Autodelta worked as a unit and was quick to adapt to driver feedback. But this was to backfire with Autodelta's foray into Formula One. You see, in 1976, Alfa returned to F1, but this time as an engine supplier, supplying Chiti's 3-liter flat 12 engines from the TT12 to the Brabham team. Starting with the BT45 Alfa Romeo, followed by their most successful iteration, the BT46. Piloted by Niki Lauda and John Watson, the Brabham team came third in the constructors' standings, just 5 points shy of the second-place Ferrari. Now, while the engine had its moments, the constantly changing regulations and the rushed development ultimately led to dismal reliability by the 1979 season. In their final season together, the Brabham BT48, driven by Niki Lauda and Nelson Piquet, recorded 19 retirements combined in just 13 races. It was the last nail in the coffin. For the final 2 races of the season, Brabham switched to Cosworth engines, ending the partnership with Alfa Romeo. In the following seasons, Alfa Romeo entered F1 as a works team with the Alfa Romeo 177 for the 1979 season, though it was quickly replaced by the 179, which ran until the 1982 season. But the 4 seasons Chiti managed were marred with characteristic unreliability. But you couldn't cast all the blame on Chiti and Autodelta. You see, ever since Luraghi left Alfa Romeo, Chiti's relationship with the new Alfa's board led by Masachesi deteriorated rapidly. He was given less funds, which directly impacted Autodelta's performance. No longer bringing in the stream of victories, Chiti was demoted to working on the engine only, though the continued poor performance from the F1 team led to Alfa Romeo withdrawing from Grand Prix racing altogether in 1985. Increasingly sidelined, the embittered Chiti left Alfa Romeo in 1985. He dabbled in F1 again with Motori Moderni, though not much of note had materialized. Carlo Chiti passed away in 1994 of a heart attack, taking with him much of the knowledge, intuition, and blueprints that gave life to the legendary cars. But behind these now multi-million-dollar machines was a man that deserves to be remembered. I wanted to close this video with a quote from Gordon Murray that sheds light on Chiti's character. There was a lot of mutual respect. Chiti was a genius in his own way. He was a good sport too. Once, he took us all out for dinner, and there I did my trick whereby I run my hand slowly through a flame without burning myself. Chiti picked up the candle on the table in front of him, stuck it in his mouth, and kept it in there for 10 seconds or so. When he took it out, it was still alight. I mean, with tricks like that, how could you not like him? Thank you for watching this video. It felt only natural for me to read up on Carlo Chiti after Pizzarini, with whom he had spent much of the earlier parts of his career. There was a lot of information available on Carlo Chiti and the cars he designed, which I believe can be attributed to the fact that he worked with a lot of bigger brands and bigger companies. If his Autodelta had remained completely independent, well, let's just say that I'm glad they worked for Alfa Romeo. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.